Somewhere deep inside, you felt it, that strange tension, right before something big happens. Almost like life is pressing down on you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. What if I told you, the moments that feel like everything is falling apart are often the clearest signal that your breakthrough is imminent? Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've outgrown an energetic pattern, and the universe is rearranging itself to reflect a new version of you. But that rearrangement often comes disguised as chaos. This is where most people get lost. They confuse the collapse with failure, not realizing that in the quantum field, collapse is what allows creation. Think about the double slit experiment in quantum physics. Particles behave like waves in a pure potential until observed. It's the act of focus, of intention, that collapses those waves into a single outcome. But what isn't talked about enough is that before the collapse, there's disorder, a field of infinite probabilities, all vibrating, all available. When you're on the edge of a breakthrough, your reality begins to shake because the old frequency no longer fits. You're not failing, you're retuning. But the shift doesn't feel soft. It feels like emotional whiplash. Plans fall through, people leave, opportunities stall. Suddenly, your clarity becomes confusion. Your calm turns to doubt. And that's where the deeper initiation begins. Because the field is not asking you to do more. It's asking you to let go, to release what you thought was stable, so you can align with what's actually true. That tension you're feeling, it's the friction between the old self trying to hold on and the quantum self trying to emerge. Let's go even deeper. In systems theory, there's a term called the bifurcation point. It's the moment when a system under increasing pressure can no longer maintain its previous structure and is forced to evolve into a more complex, more coherent state. But here's the paradox. To reach that new state, the system must first pass through chaos. What looks like destruction is actually reorganization. What feels like resistance is actually realignment. This exact dynamic exists within your consciousness, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions. They all form a living system. And when that system is no longer sustainable, for the level of energy you're stepping into, it begins to destabilize. Not because you're broken, but because you're becoming too powerful. For the old version of reality you were living in those moments, when everything feels out of control, you have a choice. Contract back into what's familiar, or breathe through the fire and allow the field to rewire you. Here's what's wild and often missed. Your body knows what to do with chaos. Your heart, when in a state of coherence, sends a signal to your brain that creates emotional clarity. Your breath, when deep and slow, calms your nervous system and opens your awareness. Your intention, when clear, programs your field. So the question becomes, can you stay present in the shakeup? Can you stop trying to fix what's dissolving and instead trust what's forming? There's a reason this energy feels so intense right now. On a collective level, many people are going through what mystics and scientists alike have called the disintegration of identity. It's the breakdown of the parts of you that were based on fear, control, and separation. And while it may feel like the end, it's really in the threshold. You are not losing your path. You're being redirected to the version of you who's already aligned with the frequency of your next chapter. If you've made it this far, it means something in you is already shifting. You wouldn't be here otherwise. This message finds you now because you are right at the edging and your next version is already waiting in the field. In the next part of this journey, you'll discover the deeper mechanics of this collapse and rebuild cycle. You'll see how chaos in your emotional field signals coherence trying to emerge. And most importantly, you'll learn how to recognize the signs that your breakthrough is not only close, it's already in motion. So stay with me. The truth is deeper than it seems. And what's on the other side of this difficulty will make everything worth it. Have you ever noticed that the moment right before something finally shifts is often when you're most tempted to give up? There's a reason for that, and it's not psychological. It's energetic. Before a quantum system reorganizes into a new level of coherence, it often passes through a state of chaotic uncertainty. This isn't just metaphor. It's a principle observed in biology, in fluid dynamics, in the evolution of galaxies, and yes, in your consciousness. You see, everything in your life is a frequency. Your relationships, your bank account, your health, your emotions, all of them are expressions of the dominant energy you've been broadcasting. But when you begin to change your inner state, when you meditate, regulate your nervous system, shift your focus, declare new intentions, the field around you begins to respond. And here's where it gets complex. Your current reality, even if it's painful, is held together by energetic agreements. Your thoughts, beliefs, habits. They've formed a sort of gravitational pull that stabilizes your world. When you start upgrading your frequency, those stabilizing patterns start to break apart. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. Then subtly, friction begins to build. You feel more tired than usual. Unexpected setbacks appear. People who once felt aligned start to feel distant. This is where most people make the mistake of interpreting resistance as a sign to stop. But what's actually happening is this. Your internal coherence is rising, and the parts of your life that no longer resonate are being shaken loose. It's not sabotage, it's synchronization. This shaking, this unease, is a necessary decoherence. The old frequency is losing its hold, and your nervous system is adjusting to the new pattern you're anchoring. From a quantum point of view, this is the moment, right before reconfiguration. It's when the wave of possibility begins to collapse, not into failure, but into form. But here's the critical thing. What determines what the field collapses into is your emotional state. During this period of instability, if you contract in fear, you signal the field to restore the familiar, even if it's painful. But if you stay present and breathe through the discomfort, you stabilize the new frequency. It's like surfing. The wave builds, lifts, becomes chaotic. And in that moment, you can either panic and fall or lean into the momentum and ride it to shore. So, what are the signs that you're in the middle of a vibrational shift, sudden emotional surges? You feel grief, rage, or fear come up without clear reason. This is stored energy leaving your field. Old patterns resurfacing, triggers you thought you'd healed, return. Not as a regression, but as a final release. Disorientation. You question everything, your purpose, relationships, even your spiritual practices. This is not confusion. It's identity dissolution, time distortion. Days feel slow or surreal. This means your brain is exiting survival mode and recalibrating. Deep stillness after storm, moments of strange peace appear even amidst external chaos. This is the new coherence beginning to emerge. You're not losing your way. You're exiting the frequency where your old life made sense. This process is sacred, but it's also uncomfortable by design. Because without discomfort, there's no detachment, And without detachment, the field has no space to deliver the new. Spiritual teachers have long called this the dark night of the soul, but from a modern quantum lens, we might call it the vibrational death of the outdated self. And like all deaths, it must be honored, not rushed, not denied, not escaped, because what comes next is a level of alignment, creativity, and clarity you've never accessed before. But to reach it, you must stay present through the noise. You must remember the breakdown is not personal, it's mechanical, it's vibrational, it's preparation. In the next part of this experience, we'll explore how to work with this discomfort, not resist it, and how to stay energetically aligned through the shift instead of collapsing in it. Because the energy you choose to hold during the most difficult moments is what writes the signature of your next reality, and your new timeline is closer than you think. Sometimes, before your life expands, it contracts, not because you're going backwards, but because something deep in your field is making room. Most people miss this. They feel the contraction and assume it's failure. They don't realize it's a sign that their current frequency can no longer contain the energy they've begun to emit. But if you look closer, you'll see that your external life always reflects your energetic set point. And as you start to elevate that frequency through healing, through intention, through presence, the field must rearrange to match it. This rearrangement doesn't always look like flow. Often, it looks like friction, because friction is a sign of recalibration. Let me tell you a story. A man had been visualizing a career change. For over a year, he practiced gratitude, meditation, declared his intentions daily. Nothing happened until everything started going wrong. Suddenly, his projects fell apart. His confidence collapsed. He started questioning the entire process. But what he didn't see until later was that those apparent breakdowns were not blocks. They were clearing space, because days later, a new opportunity emerged, one that didn't fit into his old identity, but aligned perfectly with who he had been becoming. The collapse was not punishment. It was the precursor to a breakthrough. Here's what the field understands. Better than your conscious mind, you don't just manifest what you want, you manifest what you're coherent with. And coherence means your thoughts, your emotions, your body, your energy are all broadcasting the same frequency. So when your frequency shifts, when you start feeling and acting as if the new reality is already here, the old structures that were aligned with your previous state begin to dissolve. This is the paradox of quantum manifestation. The breakdown is proof that the field is responding. It means you've sent out a new signal, and the universe is rearranging in real time. But if you interpret the dismantling as failure, you reattach to the old frequency. You recall the version of reality you were trying to leave. This is why awareness is everything. Here are 3 deeper signs that your field is reorganizing, even if it doesn't look like progress. On the surface, 1, synchronicities increase, but outcomes delay. You notice repeating numbers, symbols, or messages that seem to guide you, but the big result hasn't arrived. That's because the field is syncing, not stalling. The synchronicities are signals of resonance, even if form hasn't caught up yet. 2, old energies exit rapidly. People leave, habits break, plans dissolve. It may feel like loss, but it's a clearing. The field is stripping away misaligned frequencies so you can receive without distortion. 3, you begin to feel neutral, not excited. Excitement is useful, but neutrality is powerful. When you start to feel calm, even amid uncertainty, it's a sign that your nervous system is integrating a higher frequency. You're no longer chasing, you're broadcasting. So what should you do when the shift begins? Do less, feel more, breathe deeper. Because the field doesn't need your effort, it needs your alignment. The moment you stop grasping and start listening, you step into quantum trust. And trust is the fastest frequency of manifestation. This is not passive. This is precision. From a physics perspective, everything in the universe self-organizes according to frequency. Coherent fields attract coherent outcomes. Your job is not to force the outcome. Your job is to become the field that contains it. In the next part of this journey, we'll explore how to stay grounded through the chaos, what to do when fear arises, and how to shift from reaction to resonance, and you'll receive one of the most powerful energetic tools to navigate the hardest part of the breakthrough process. Because the more you understand what's really happening behind the scenes, the easier it becomes to trust the unseen forces working on your behalf. Let's talk about the part no one prepares you for, the middle of the shift, that space between I'm ready for change and it finally happened, where your old life no longer fits, but your new one hasn't fully formed. It's disorienting, it's emotional, and it's exactly where most people abandon their process, because what they don't realize is the space between the old and the new is not empty. It's charged. It's active. It's where the quantum field does its most important work, reorganizing timelines, rerouting potentials, and dissolving resistance, but only if you can stay energetically coherent through the discomfort. So, how do you do that? You don't force your way through. You align your way through. And one of the simplest ways to realign in the middle of chaos is this, a 3-step energetic reset known as the trust shift. Here's how it works. Step 1, breathe into the field. Close your eyes. Bring your attention to the center of your chest. Take a long, slow inhale through your nose. And as you exhale, feel your body soften. Let your breath become smooth and circular. No gaps, no holding, just rhythm. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system and brings your body into heart-brain coherence. Step 2, say the signal. Silently repeat to yourself, I trust the flow. Not because everything is figured out, but because your job is not to control every detail. Your job is to maintain the signal. Each time you say it, feel your energy drop from your mind into your heart. Feel your nervous system recalibrate. Feel your field stabilize. Step 3, allow what's unfolding. Now, instead of asking, why is this happening? Ask, what is this making space for? This simple shift turns emotional reactivity into energetic intelligence. You stop collapsing timelines based on fear and start broadcasting a field of presence, and presence is the most magnetic state you can occupy. Now I want to speak directly to the part of you that doubts this, the part that says, this is just wishful thinking, or nothing is changing. That voice is not the truth. It's the echo of your old frequency, trying to stay relevant. It's not your enemy, but it cannot lead. What must lead now is your embodied awareness, the part of you that knows I don't need evidence before I align. I don't need the result before I become the resonance. That's the shift. That's what the universe responds to. Remember, you're not here to beg the field. You're here to partner with it, to become the kind of presence that allows the invisible to crystallize into the visible. And if you're still watching this, I know you feel it, the tremble of something new, forming in the unseen. You may not have the language for it yet, but your energy knows. So right now, I want to anchor this moment, not with a belief, but with a broadcast. In the comments, type, "I trust the flow." Those 4 words are not just a statement, they're a vibrational code. They say, I am available, I am present, I'm not rushing the field, I'm attuning to it. Say it once, say it daily, say it when everything inside you wants to control. Because the moment you surrender the timeline, the field begins to reveal the path. In the next part of this journey, you'll discover what blocks this flow, the unconscious habits and energetic contracts that keep you repeating the same cycle, and more importantly, how to release them without forcing, fixing, or fighting anything. Because you were never meant to push reality into place. You were meant to invite it into resonance. Let's be honest. You've done the work. You've journaled, meditated, held the vision. You've even surrendered. At least you think you have. But why does it still feel like you're stuck in a loop? Why do breakthroughs seem so close, only to slip through your fingers? Because even the most awakened people, especially the most awakened, fall into energetic traps that keep them aligned with the very timelines they're trying to transcend, not out of weakness, but out of conditioning. So in this part, we'll expose those traps, not to shame you, but to liberate your signal, because the field is always responding, not to your words, but to your coherence. And every time you unknowingly reattach to an outdated frequency, you broadcast confusion into the quantum field. So let's decode the 5 most common energetic errors that block the flow during your transition. Error 1, performing instead of embodying. You say the affirmations, you follow the rituals, but deep inside, you're performing alignment instead of becoming it. Energetically, performance is manipulation. It says to the field, look, I'm doing the thing. Now give me the result. But the field doesn't respond to compliance. It responds to truth. True embodiment is subtle. It's when your actions and your energy tell the same story, even when no one is watching. Error 2, waiting for evidence before you relax. You tell yourself, once I see the shift, I'll believe it's working. But that's not how quantum reality operates. The moment you need proof before peace, you anchor your field in doubt. And the field, being neutral, simply reflects that doubt back as delay. Your frequency says, I'm not safe yet. And so, the field mirrors that back. Reality is not the confirmation. You are. Error 3, overthinking the path. You keep asking, but how will it happen? And in doing so, you contract your field into the limits of your logic. In quantum mechanics, particles don't follow straight lines. They operate through probabilities, infinite paths that collapse based on coherence, not control. When you obsess over the how, you become the bottleneck. You reduce infinite quantum roots to your single ego plan. The field doesn't need your map. It needs your signal. Error 4, negotiating with the old identity. You say you're ready to change, but part of you is still bargaining with your past. You still fear letting go of the version of you that knew how to survive pain. But pain-based identity emits distortion. It keeps attracting circumstances that reaffirm struggle, not because you want it, but because you're entangled with it. You can't collapse into your breakthrough. While gripping the blueprint of suffering, your new timeline requires new agreements. Error 5, mistaking discomfort for misalignment. As soon as things get hard, you interpret that as a sign to backtrack. But discomfort isn't always a red flag. Sometimes it's a signal of expansion, growth, is a nervous system event. When your body touches frequencies it's never held before, it often panics. Not because you're off track, but because you're leaving the familiar. Discomfort doesn't always mean stop. Sometimes it means breathe and keep going. Now here's the secret. Every one of these errors is not a flaw. They're invitations to refine your signal, to become more precise with your energy, and to let the field reintroduce you to your own power. So how do you shift? You bring awareness, not pressure, not judgment, just presence. Because in the quantum field, the moment you see the pattern, without fusing to it, you begin to unhook your vibration from that loop. Try this. The next time you feel stuck, ask, what energy am I radiating right now? Not what you're saying, not what you're wishing, but what you're actually broadcasting. Then pause, drop into your body, find the gap between thought and truth. That gap is the entry point to your next reality. And from there, one breath, one aligned thought can tilt your entire field. So now you know, the collapse isn't a curse, it's a clearing. The struggle isn't a signal to stop, it's a sign. You're near the edge of a quantum shift, but knowledge alone won't create the shift. What changes everything is how you move through it. So let's bring this full circle with a simple practice that stabilizes your nervous system, aligns your energy, and reinforces the signal of surrender without losing your power. This is called the Quantum Calm Protocol, and it only takes 90 seconds. You can do it every morning, in the middle of a breakdown, or whenever you feel your frequency dropping into confusion or fear. Let's begin. Step 1, the centering breath. Sit or stand. Close your eyes. Take a slow inhale through your nose. For a count of 4, hold for 2, exhale through your mouth for 6. Do this twice more. With each exhale, imagine releasing all false urgency from your body. Feel yourself return to the present moment, not as a concept, but as a frequency. Step 2, the field declaration. Now place your hand gently over your chest, say silently or aloud, even this is part of my alignment. Let those words echo through your field. Feel them dissolve. Resistance. You are not off track. You are mid-transformation. Step 3, visualize the collapse as rearrangement. In your mind's eye, imagine your current chaos, the people, the decisions, the emotions, particles, scattered, swirling, disordered. Now breathe. And with each breath, feel those particles begin to reorganize, not according to your fear, but according to your frequency. They're not falling apart. They're falling into place. Let that image anchor in your awareness. Let it be the metaphor you return to every time doubt returns. Because the truth is, you're not being tested, you're being calibrated. This phase of your life is not about fixing yourself. It's about remembering you are a signal, not a statistic, a broadcaster, not a beggar, a creator, not a controller. And when you stop trying to outthink the field and instead become coherent within it, everything changes. So here's the final invitation. Not a demand, not a pitch, but a door. If this message found you at the right time, if something deep inside you clicked into place, if even one part of this shifted your perception, your breath, your energy, then this space, this channel, this frequency is for you. Subscribing isn't just about more content. It's about joining a movement of conscious creators, signal holders, frequency stabilizers, people who don't just talk about the shift, they live it. So if you're ready to align your mornings, your manifestations, your nervous system, not with hustle, but with harmony, hit subscribe, not because you need to become someone new, but because you're finally ready to remember who you've always been. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Thank you for trusting the process, the pause, the paradox. And remember, when things feel like they're falling apart, it may be because your soul just made room for the reality you've been waiting for.